Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están todos? How's everybody?
Bien, muy bien.
Excelente. Sí, I have to delete my 9 o'clock thing to make sure that this one works. I don't know why it doesn't like it. If you just end the meeting, shouldn't it end the meeting and then you have nothing else on? Yeah, I don't know why that happens. Anyway, little extra step for me to do. Bueno, hay varias personas que no están. Y Pat, the one thing I forgot to do, I've been looking for your questions from your earlier video, and the way my big computer formats it, I couldn't see it. So I'm going to have to go back and look at that later. So
Okay.
I'm not ignoring your questions. I just didn't get a chance to review what were they. Before this meeting, it was doctor appointment day yesterday, so it was a busy day here. But todo bien, all good. So, okay. Fantástico. Vamos a comenzar con las clases de la primavera. We're starting with spring classes. I don't think we've got any. We have no gaps. We have no holiday miss weeks. Yay. Bravo, bravo. So we go straight through to the end of May to Memorial Day. Sí, es Memorial Day. Okay.
Wow. Pero no está primavera. No.
No, no estamos en primavera. Un suéter.
Sí.
Es abril, es abril. Nunca puedo ponerme un suéter en abril aquí. No lo entiendo. Sí. Y vamos a hablar del tiempo, del clima, sí, durante la clase hoy. Yeah, we'll come back to that idea. Ay, qué clima raro. What strange weather. Bueno, I do want to preface this with, if there are particular special topics you want me to revisit during the more advanced session, let me know. And Pat, I promise I will look at your questions. I just have to look on my tab. For some reason, the way Gmail sets up on my big computer, it's like it loses things. And I know I didn't delete it. So, okay. Unless you just want to ask during class, you can do that too. Es posible. Okay. Vamos a empezar con algo. I'm going to start with something which is actually kind of interesting. I'm not going to play this whole video, but it's kind of an opinion. It's a food for thought kind of video. It's food for thought. And this is not from somebody who is, strictly speaking, a language instructor, which you would think should disqualify it. But to be honest, sometimes that's helpful, because those of us in the profession can sometimes get a little bit blinder vision. Yeah. And sometimes it's good to have a different perspective. So we're going to watch a little bit of this to kind of do our food for thought for starting. And I'm actually going to leave out a section on the end, because I do strongly disagree with the last point he has to make. Sadly. So this guy, actually, he runs businesses, but he lives down in Yucatan. In that area, near Cancun.
Mm.
And so he's got a different take. And the reason it's helpful, sometimes it's helpful for somebody who lives in a place, who learned Spanish as an adult, and because he knows what it's like to talk with contractors, with people he does business with the grocery people, with the doctors, he's got a different take on what it takes to learn Spanish. So that's why we're going to.
One of the most difficult aspects of learning Spanish for most people is learning the conjugations for all of the different tenses / moods. Although people seem to differ on how many actual tenses/moods there are, some say 18, some 16. I think I saw 14 once. It really depends how they're counting them. Sometimes they're like, well, we're not really using those two anymore.
Yeah, and that
Anyway,
doesn't matter.
one thing we can all agree on is there are a lot of them. The good news is that you do not have to learn all of these before you can start communicating effectively in Spanish. In fact, you can do really well only knowing 5 of them. That's right, only 5. And we're going to be talking about those 5 in this video. For you
So I'm leaving off his last one because I disagree with his last one. Well, sort of. So we're going to look at 4. So again, this is a food for thought thing, and it may stir up some questions in your brain as you think about it that you can get back to me later about, what he mentioned about this. I would like us to practice this idea more in spring session, okay.
folks who are just starting out learning Spanish on your own, I recommend that you learn these particular tenses/moods in this order. I'm going to explain why in the video. One thing I'm going to tell you up front, if you take a traditional Spanish course, say in school or something, they are not going to teach you these in this order.
They always teach the first one, though, the way he...
So how did I come up with this particular order for learning these tenses/moods? Well, it really comes down to frequency of use and criticality of task. That's the standard I use. You want to get the most bang for your buck, right? You're going to invest the time in studying. You want to be able to get out there and really start to be able to communicate with people, right? That's what I'm going to help you do. The first one on our list is what you might expect, the present indicative tense, aka the plain old present tense.
And that's really what we always start with. So he said they don't teach it in this order. That isn't always quite right. We do, or at least I have taught things often in this order.
When you learn present tense in a book at first or in a class, this is the one they're talking about.
Yeah.
By the way, don't let the English grammatical terms scare you, indicative and tenses, moods, things like that. You're going to get used to them after a while. And they're actually useful when you want to go and learn more about a particular topic. You'll know, what to type into Google. With the present indicative tense and, of course, some vocabulary under your belt, you'll be able to tell people what your name is, where you're from, talk about the weather, order food, and make sentences like these. I want to buy a house. I have to work every weekend. Do you want to wash the car? Do you like strawberries? Can you take the garbage out? You can even express the future with the present tense, the same way we do in English. Are you going to take the garbage out? I suppose those could be useful, right? You're talking about what you want to do. You're asking what other people like. You're asking people to do things for you. There's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah. And so the presente can be used because we use the presente of ir to talk about future. That really takes care of all your needs for future. It takes care of your really conversational needs for future.
Let's take a look at our English sentences again and tweak them just a little bit. Make them a little bit more complex. I want to buy a house that faces the sea. I have to work every weekend so my boss can spend time with his children. I want you to wash the car. I doubt you like strawberries. Can you take the garbage out before it rains?
And all of those are a little more complicated, but they're not unusual things to express. And those you need to go beyond presente.
So take a look at all these sentences. Not particularly difficult or complex. Might be things you'd actually say, right? Well, the bad news is you cannot correctly translate any of these sentences only knowing the present indicative tense. That's the one I just covered. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, Paul, I'm looking at these sentences. They're all clearly in the present tense, so what gives here? I know. Believe me, I know. When I was learning Spanish on my own and I encountered this same thing, I was confused and then I was frustrated. And that's when I discovered this thing called the present subjunctive. And it unlocked my Spanish. It propelled my Spanish to a whole nother level. And that's why the present subjunctive is the second tense/mood on our list. So now let's plug.
And so actually, I agree with him on that we don't teach subjunctive quickly because the idea, the way to form subjunctive is not hard. If it's present subjunctive, it's not hard. But the reasons we use it for English speakers is very hard. So that's why it's not taught in that order in a traditional class, because the reasons for using it really mess with the English logic part of our brains.
Plug in all of the translations to those sentences so you can see what I'm talking about. The verb in red is in the present indicative, and the verb in yellow is in the present subjunctive.
Yeah. So what you see in yellow, that's subjunctive. And what subjunctive on a very simple level means is that if it's an AR vowel, you're going to use ER-IR endings. If it's an if it's an ER-IR verb, you're going to use AR type endings. I mean, that's kind of a simplification, but in general, that's what winds up happening because, look, instead of puede, you've got pueda. Instead of da, you have de. If instead of lavas, you've got laves. So it switches out and uses what you would consider the wrong vowel. And actually, use of subjunctive is super common. It is used, it is a super high frequency thing. But explaining the reasons, there are different reasons for a lot of those uses that you see on the screen. And that is where it gets to be difficult to explain to people. It deals with what one person wants somebody else to do. It deals with situations that use particular para que, particular phrases. It has to do with situations that are hypothetical that don't really exist. It deals with talking about doubt. It has to do with a situation that, again, here doesn't really exist before it rains. It isn't raining right now. So, but these do all use subjunctive. And if you don't use it, it does sound odd to them, right? What these sentences mean is, I want to buy a house that faces the sea. And you don't know if there is a house with a view that faces the sea. And because you don't know that it exists, they use subjunctive. I have to work every week.
Is that a form of dar?
That's a form of dar. That's the present subjunctive of dar. See, and it's one of the irregular present subjunctives. So it, in essence, instead of saying da, it's de. And again, and that's an odd use too, because it gives to the sea. But yeah. What dar al mar means faces. When you look out from it, what you see is, it's facing this view. That's what that means. Okay. I have to work every weekend so that para que here is not just para, but it's para que, so that my boss can spend time with his kids. Para que uses subjunctive. It just does. It's one of the phrases that dictates that you must use subjunctive. I want you to wash the car. I want that you do something. That doesn't mean you're going to do this activity of laves. You're not actually doing it right now. I want you to do it, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And this activity of laves is not happening right now. And because it is not happening right now, but you wish for it to happen, it uses subjunctive. I doubt that you like strawberries. I doubt that you may like this. When we doubt that something is happening, it means, again, it puts this activity of gustar into a field of, we don't really think this is part of the real world. You don't like them. And when we talk about things that are not part of reality, what is really going on, we have to put that verb in subjunctive. can you take out the trash before it rains? Antes de que, like para que, antes de que, before it rains. If we're saying before it rains, that means it ain't raining now. And that activity of llover isn't really happening. And that's why we have to push it off into subjunctive. So all of these very normal things in English would not, in English, the subjunctive doesn't really exist for these uses. We use all different things. So that's why subjunctive doesn't get taught second, because then people have to know why. So basically, if you learn subjunctive this way with these sentences, you learn it in the chunk method, that this is the way these words hang together, but you really don't know mentally why it's being done. So that's why when he says, well, I don't know why they don't, well, they don't teach it that way because it's very hard to explain to people why that yellow verb happens there. I don't know if that's something you want to touch on yet, or if you want to wait a bit, because it might be that you really want to focus more on past, which would be fine. But anyway, I'll let him roll from here.
The present indicative and the present subjunctive are going to appear together all the time in Spanish. They are completely intertwined.
They are.
And you will never be good at speaking Spanish without knowing the subjunctive. Unfortunately, most traditional Spanish courses do not even mention the subjunctive until the students are around high intermediate level.
And that's true. Normally, textbooks are set up so that you start to introduce subjunctive, like in May or June of the school year, which means that kids are totally checked out and they say, this is hard, I don't get it. And they kind of don't bother with it. And then second year, they do the same. So, and most teachers don't even get to that part of the book. It's put so far in the back of a traditional textbook for high school kids that the teacher doesn't even get to that material by the end of the year. So where they do wind up getting to it way before the end of the year is in third year Spanish, which is high intermediate. Yeah. And third year Spanish is where people normally start to really get into subjunctive. And then by that time they say, whoa, this is hard. My brain is like, it does not like to do this. And it's a tough topic for them.
As one viewer of the channel put it, you know, you're studying Spanish for years, you think you got a good handle on it, and then they sucker punch you with the subjunctive.
It is
but
a
that
sucker
won't be
punch.
you, right? Because you're going to start learning it right away. In fact, it's number 2 on your list. When it comes to using the subjunctive correctly, the key is to first learn the conjugations and then learn what kind of constructions trigger it so you'll use it correctly every time.
He's right about
now
that.
you have 2 sets of conjugations under your belt, and with the right vocab, you'll be able to say a lot of things. But we still can't talk about things that have already happened. That brings us to our third tense, the preterite, aka the simple past. Spanish has 2 main forms of the past tense, the preterite and the imperfect. You're going to be using the preterite, the one I'm showing you now, the most. It is for completed actions in the past. Here are some examples. What did you do yesterday? We went to the beach. Juan told me he went to the beach yesterday too. Last month, we sang in the park. That last one was just an example. I was not singing in the park last month. Okay, the next one on our list is going to focus on that other past tense I mentioned, the imperfect. And it's not like you're going to be using as much as the preterite, but it's always good to kind of learn these together because they do run hand in hand. This one is going to allow you to talk about things that are in progress in the past without a clear ending and habitual actions. It was raining when I arrived. It was raining would be in the imperfect because it's in progress in the past. When I arrived would be in the preterite because it's a completed action. I arrived. I was in the bathroom when I heard a noise outside. I was in the bathroom is something in progress in the past. When something else occurred, I heard a noise outside. Sometimes you'll hear the imperfect with just things in progress in the past tense with no clear ending. The women were dancing and singing. Las mujeres bailaban y cantaban. As I mentioned, this is what we're going to be using for habitual actions in the past. My father used to smoke every day. There's a couple ways to do that. You could say, mi papá fumaba todos los días, or mi papá solía fumar todos los días.
And the solía fumar, solía means usually, or used to. So that typically soler, S-O-L-E-R, soler becomes solía fumar, he used to smoke. It's just a different way of saying used to by using this solía with the second non-conjugated verb, like you use, no puedo fumar, I can't smoke. No quiero fumar, I don't want to smoke. Okay, it's the same kind of setup. You just put soler into imperfecto, and then it means somebody used to do, that second thing that is in the infinitive form. Okay.
I kind of like that second one. That brings us to number 5. on our
Okay, and number 5, I'm going to leave as the surprise. If you choose to watch it later, I'll say go ahead and watch it on your own time. He has kind of an interesting point with that. I'm not sure I agree with, well, yeah, maybe. But his next suggestion is not something that we will be able to use. Okay. It's conditional, but it's kind of not essential. So even when you want to jump into subjunctive, we'll see, we'll kind of take a group vote on it. Sometimes a lot of people, rightly so, say, I need to get more comfortable with pretérito and imperfecto. A lot of you are doing extremely well with that, really well. So I don't know. I'll let you kind of think about that for a bit. Okay. Bueno, ahora vamos a empezar. ¿Hay alguna pregunta del video de la visita a Cuba? Is there anybody who's got a little question on that? Because I left that for you a couple weeks back, and she talked about various things. A lot of people from Spain. This is a popular place for people from Spain and Canada to go to get warm. And we do or don't let tourists from these states. You got to have a special reason. No, it's totally open. No, it's not totally open. Yeah, es un problema. It's a kind of a problem for us U.S. folks, but other people do go there. Okay, ¿hay alguna pregunta o no? It's kind of an easy one to understand, I think. Sí, fácil de entender. Sí, bien.
Wait, have you been to Cuba, Marilyn?
No, no, pero tenía en mis días en la universidad, cuando era joven, yo tenía 2 profes cubanas. 2 profes cubanas. 2 de mis profes eran mujeres de Cuba y de familias que se escaparon del régimen de Castro durante la se huyeron en la primera ola. They came over in the first wave, en la primera ola de refugiados de Cuba a Estados Unidos. Una profe cubana que tenía yo era una mujer, su papá publicó un periódico muy importante en La Habana, o mejor decir, publicaba un periódico muy importante en La Habana y bueno, tenían que salir casi inmediatamente después de la revolución, casi inmediatamente, porque publicaron cosas en el periódico que no estaban de acuerdo con el gobierno de Castro, así que tenían que salir. These folks did the traditional things of sewing jewelry into the hems of their clothing so they would have things they could pawn to have money to start off with. Bad situation. When you have people climbing over the walls of your backyard with guns, it's not a good situation. Yeah. Okay.
En el año 1958, is that 50? That's 58.
58.
En diciembre,
Diciembre.
mis padres fue a Florida y tomaron un barco a Cuba,
Wow.
pero
Oh,
yo, my mom was pregnant with me then. So
Tu
I
mamá
have been to
estaba
Cuba.
embarazada. Wow, contigo.
I don't remember nada of
Claro que no, claro que no. 1958, ¿y cuándo ocurrió la revolución? 1960 y creo, o 1959, no recuerdo exactamente, pero el 1 de enero, it did happen like literally over New Year's holiday. That's when it happened. Sí, 59, creo, ¿no? El 31 de diciembre, el 1 de enero, algo así, sí. Y bueno, sí, hubo una revolución muy, muy violenta. It was a it was a nasty one. It was not a real benign kind of takeover.
Marilyn,
Sí.
¿qué diferente es el idioma de Cuba y de México?
De Cuba, bueno, el acento sí es un acento distinto. El acento de los cubanos es muy parecido, muy similar al acento de Puerto Rico, de la República Dominicana. Hay aspiración. Se tragan las S's. There's a lot of swallowing of S's. There's a lot of their accent won't be terrifically different. There are many similarities between all those Caribbean countries have similarities in their accent. One of the things that a lot of D's get softened or dropped. Cerrado might become cerrado. A lot of S's get swallowed. They call it I think in linguistics linguists call it like aspirating. So you hear a ha at the back of the throat. So it does sound different. It can take a while to get used to when you're listening to it. I would say it would be similar to like if you're a person from the US and somebody came from, you grabbed somebody from Edinburgh, Scotland and dropped them in the US and said, talk like you talk with all your friends in Edinburgh or Glasgow.
Yeah.
It would be similar to getting used to the rhythm of listening to that speech. There would be enough of what we call a brogue, but is an accent that it would take a while to acclimate yourself, let's say. Yeah. And some different words, but definitely people understand each other. But even amongst people who speak Spanish, there'd be a little adjustment. There'd be an adjustment, as we do in English with people from the other side of the pond. Es así. Bien.
Mi esposa y yo fueron a Cuba 8 años pasados. Y noticiera, we noticed, how would you say, we noticed that it was very difficult to understand people who were speaking.
Sí. Nos fijamos, we noticed, nos fijamos, sí.
Okay.
Sí. fijamos en la dificultad de entender
Sí,
a las personas.
una, de one of our friends, unos de mis amigos, de donde, from México.
Ah, y el
Y-
mexicano tenía
y ella
dificultad en
tiene-
entender.
Sí, ella
No podía entender muy bien.
ella busca muy difícil para entender las personas de Cuba.
De Cuba, sí. Voy a buscar un video, quizás para la semana que viene, quizás hoy, con cubanos hablando español, para que ustedes puedan, subjuntivo, para que ustedes puedan escuchar el acento cubano, el acento normal de Cuba, porque sí es distinto y nos cuesta un poquito entender, nos cuesta, es difícil, ¿sí? Si ustedes, Pat, y tú y tus amigos, si ustedes se fijaron de que era difícil de entender, sí, es normal. There is a lot of softening and kind of mushiness about some of the consonants that makes it a little bit of a challenge. You got to listen kind of hard, but you can always tell. It's like saying, you would know a person from Ireland, you would know a person from Scotland, you would know a person from London versus a person who lives in Northern England. It's like that, and their own set of slang and all that. One of the interesting slang words you would hear would be, if you ask somebody for a bus, en México se dice autobús o camión, hay un camión, hay un autobús que te lleva al centro, ¿sí? La palabra para autobús es guagua. Guagua. Guagua in other Spanish-speaking countries would be a slang word for a baby, a squalling little infant. And en Cuba es un autobús. And so, but they share some commonalities with other parts of the Caribbean. So, sí. Wow, ustedes tienen experiencia, ¿sí? Hace 8 años, 8 years ago, ¿sí? Era más, sí, hace 8 años, era más común encontrar a personas estadounidenses que iban a Cuba. Ahora creo que es un poquito más difícil. Y durante la pandemia, claro, sí, perdían mucho turismo, pero están mejorando poco a poco. Y la cosa más difícil es el uso del Internet. Para los turistas, el problema más común es no tener acceso normal al Internet. Si te vas a Europa, te vas a España, te vas a Colombia, a varias partes de Sudamérica, es bastante fácil tener Wi-Fi o Wi-Fi en muchos lugares, pero es muy difícil obtener Wi-Fi en Cuba. porque el acceso universal no existe.
Sí.
Todavía es problema. Ok. Bueno, vamos a ver. Tenemos otra cosa, un momentito. Ok, vamos a practicar. Let's do a little practice here. Vamos a hablar de cosas muy normales y quiero que nosotros practiquemos el pasado con el pretérito y el imperfecto. Y voy a poner la primera pregunta aquí en la pantalla para que ustedes puedan escuchar y leer la pregunta a la vez, at the same time, a la vez. Y la pregunta es muy fácil, muy básica. ¿Qué hiciste la semana pasada? ¿Qué hiciste la semana pasada? Y recuerden, es por lo general, no es 100%, it's not 100%, no es 100, pero por lo general, cuando una persona te pregunta algo, el tiempo, the tense, el tiempo del verbo es lo que vamos a usar cuando contestamos. Normally, the tense that they ask you a question in is what you're going to come back with. That's not 100% because what you want to say might not use that, but por lo general, generally. Entonces, ¿qué hiciste la semana pasada? Porque no nos vimos, we did not see each other, no nos vimos la semana pasada. ¿Qué hiciste? Es pretérito. Bien, ok. Entonces, ¿qué hicieron ustedes? ¿Qué hicieron ustedes la semana pasada? Y por lo general van a usar pretérito para responder. Yo quité muchas plantas. Yo quité muchas plantas la semana pasada y también monté en bici con mi hija y monté en bici con mi esposo 3 veces la semana pasada. ¿Qué hicieron ustedes?
Mi familia estuvo en Arizona la semana pasada. Estoy muy cansada.
Ahora, después de la visita, ¿estás cansada?
Sí.
Bueno, ¿cuántas personas te visitaron, Diana?
4 personas, mis nietos adolescentes,
Oh,
un niño hace 17 años,
Tiene 17.
una nieta hace 50 años. 50,
Ella tiene 15.
años.
Tiene
Sí.
15 años.
15 años, sí. Mi hija y su esposo.
Bien. ¿Y ellos se quedaron contigo en tu casa o
Sí,
se quedaron en un hotel?
En mi casa. No,
Es mucha gente.
no tenía agua. No tenía agua. Muchos noches por mi ducha.
Agua caliente.
Sí.
Ah, todos se ducharon y todo el mundo usó el agua caliente.
Sí,
Cuando la gente nos visita es así, ¿sí? El uso del agua caliente es un problema con mucha gente en la casa.
sí.
Y también a veces hay problemas con tener comida suficiente con adolescentes en la casa, porque los adolescentes comen de todo.
Pero mi nieto le gusta In and Out Burger.
Y entonces él comió mucho de In-N-Out.
Sí,
Ah,
4.
es un restaurante muy popular con los jóvenes, ¿no? Es muy popular.
Y no caro. Y no caro.
Y es barato.
Sí.
Sí. Sí, es comida muy barata y es fácil de comprar. Es comida rápida.
Sí.
No tienes que esperar mucho tiempo. Sí, normal, sí. Debes de estar muy cansada. Wow, you should be really tired. Debes de estar muy cansada. Bien, ok. Bueno, bueno, los adolescentes querían ir a lugares turísticos,
Sí,
lugares turísticos o no.
sí, fuimos a Casa Grande, Ruins
Las ruinas.
en Coolidge y un barco en Apache Junction, un barco.
Oh, sí, hay un lago.
Dolly.
Es bueno, al lago de Swirl Lake, el lago allá o no.
Canyon Lake.
Sí.
Canyon Lake. Sí.
Y
Hace frío.
no, el domingo pasado.
Mm.
Oh, ok.
Sí. Y fuimos a montar un caballo
Oh,
a un ranchero en Black Canyon City.
oh.
Black Canyon City, ¿está al norte?
Sí.
¿Está al norte? Sí, ok.
Norte de
Y
Anthem.
hay ranchos para montar en caballo.
Cerca de Rock City Café.
Ok. Bien. Wow. Entonces, los adolescentes la pasaron bien. They had a good time.
Sí.
La
Sí.
pasaron bien, ¿no? Excelente. Wow. Una aventura para los adolescentes, ¿cierto? Ok. Bueno, gracias. Qué interesante. ¿Qué hicieron ustedes, los demás, everybody else? ¿Qué hicieron?
Fuimos al Festival del Arte de Tempe
Oh.
y muy caliente, calor. El
Hacía
tiempo
calor.
muy- Y
Sí.
cenamos en un restaurante nuevo.
¿Dónde?
Location or the name of it.
Hmm.
Let's see, what was it called? The pear.
Perfect Pear Bistro.
Sí, muy bueno. tenemos ensalada, but
Sí.
¿Y cómo fue el Festival de Arte?
did you, oh, bien.
¿Cómo fue? ¿Había mucha gente o...?
Oh, mucho, sí, mucho gente. Yes, sí, that's okay. It's misma de año pasado y año pasado vino. Yeah, but it's muy bien.
Es el tipo de arte como los precios del arte. Los precios son razonables, son
Okay.
baratos o son muy ejemplos de arte muy caro.
Depende, más caro de I forgot what cheap is. Cheap.
Barato.
Barato.
Sí.
Okay.
Yeah.
El mismo de Fountain Hills.
Sí,
El mismo de Fountain Hills Art Festival.
más grande.
Sí.
Okay. Sí,
me
creo
gusta-
que creo que es más grande, sí.
Yeah, me gusta Hills más. El lago, caminar around el lago y, yeah.
Compriste algo?
Okay.
¿Compraste algo?
Compriste algo?
¿Compraste?
Comprar? Compriste?
Solamente olives.
Almendras. Almendras, sí.
Olives come
Para
garlic,
merendar, sí, bien, sí.
vino, vaso de vino. Es muy
Es muy común encontrar como miel, honey, los tipos de comida que se venden en los festivales suelen ser como almendras, sí, miel, honey, sí, aceites, oils, sí,
lavender.
sí, palomitas, popcorn.
Y
Mm.
pastas.
Popcorn.
Sí.
Ah, sí.
Mucha cerveza.
Cerveza, sí, sí. Eso también.
No me gusta.
Pero el festival es en todo el centro, takes place in the whole downtown. Sí, es en todo el centro, ¿verdad?
Sí, muchos cuartos.
Sí, cuadras, muchas cuadras.
Muchos cuadros.
Sí, bien. Entonces hay que caminar muchísimo
Sí,
por toda la ciudad.
me gusta caminar.
Tuviste que pagar a estacionar.
Oh, para estacionar.
Yeah. Tuviste pagar.
Tuviste que pagar mucho
pagar.
para estacionar el carro.
Sí.
No comprendo.
Ok, estacionar es park. Entonces, tuviste que pagar mucho para estacionar.
No, just
No.
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 Wow.
no place just car mucho. There's
Okay.
you have to park far away.
Okay.
We paid $20 to be near.
Yeah, no.
$20 para.
Mi esposo.
Wow, $20. Wow.
Can I
Muchas
ask a question
veces.
there?
Sí.
Diane, did you use the word tuviste as in tenir?
Do you have, yes, do you have to pay, have to?
Did you have to pay?
pay?
Because I
Yes.
thought you were saying, did you see something to?
Oh, pagar.
Oh,
Viste.
Oh,
I
viste.
thought, what are you talking about?
Tú viste. No,
Oh,
ella
tú
dijo,
viste.
tú viste, tú viste.
Sí,
Viste,
oh.
you saw. Did you
Yeah.
see?
Yo,
Tú viste, tú viste qué? Did you have to? And because
Yeah.
she's talking about this one event,
Yeah.
did you have to pay a lot to park for that
My
event?
brain was still way back at the beginning of that sentence.
Yo
I
entiendo.
didn't understand. Yeah.
Sí.
Sí, y muchas veces muchas veces tienes que pagar para entrar en un evento, ¿sí? Y no hay entrada, ¿verdad? No hay entrada que tienes que pagar en Tempe, ¿verdad?
Sí. No.
Sí, sí.
Ok, exacto, exacto. Muy interesante, muy bien. Ok. Bueno, ¿qué más? Qué interesante. Ustedes hicieron cosas muy interesantes. ¿Alguien más? ¿Qué hicieron los otros? Sí.
Hope you can hear me now. El domingo comimos con los hija y su esposo restaurante Turquesia.
Un restaurante. Sí, turqués.
Turqués.
Oh, turco,
En,
perdón. No, perdón, turco, perdón. Turco.
Un restaurante turco in Chandler. I think Chandler.
Oh, en Chandler, muy al sur. Wow.
No me gusta.
Okay. No me gustó. I didn't like it.
No me gusta.
No me gustó.
Mucho de los de las comidas están queso y no me gustó queso.
Mucho queso.
Mucho
De verdad.
queso.
Wow. Nunca he comido un plato turco. Wow. Y lleva mucho queso. It has a lot of cheese, ¿sí? Lleva mucho queso, ¿sí? Y no es picante, ¿no es picante?
I'll go picante.
Pero todos los platos no
No
eran picantes.
todos los platos.
Ok. A ver. Wow. Comida turca.
Doner kebab is a Turkish meal. I mean, like dish, right? That is kind of common thing that the meat is turning and then they slice it really thin.
Sí. Está, sí,
It's a doner kebab.
una persona asa la carne en forma en un palo vertical y hay que cortar, sí, la carne, sí. Interesante.
Euros.
Sí,
Sí,
así.
Yeah.
Como la comida griega, sí. En la comida griega es muy común también. Y bueno, Grecia está cerca de Turquía, así que sería normal. That would be kind of expected, sí, sería muy normal. Muy bien, wow. Un restaurante turco.
¿Cómo se llama de restaurante, Mark?
I don't remember. Reuk? Let me look.
Okay.
Déjame ver. Let me look. Déjame ver. Let me take a look. Déjame ver.
Because we like to try different
Ah,
food from different places.
Here we go.
se llama.
Se llama Ryu Cafe.
Rayu Cafe.
Ryu.
It's R.
Rayyoog.
Wow.
Oh.
Rayyoog.
Rayyooj. Okay.
Wow.
Rayos.
Mucho or para desayuno. No.
Desayuno? Oh.
Desayuno. No carnes.
No. kind.
Oh.
Ah.
Or, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Platos vegetarianos.
Mhm.
Ah.
Interesante. Mm.
Bien.
Mi hija
Vegetarian.
mi hija come ayer y se gusta mucho.
Ok. Le gustó mucho. A ella le gustó mucho.
Mhm.
Okay.
Vale. Bueno. Ok. Bueno, gracias. ¿Qué hicieron nosotros? ¿Hay otras experiencias?
Saqué mucho tuna, prickly pear.
Ah.
Sí, que he morido.
Ah, ok. Nopales. Paddles, ¿sí? Bien. Ah. Es difícil, ¿no?
Sí.
¿Qué usas para cortar nopales? ¿Un cuchillo?
Cuchillo, shovel,
Oh, una pala.
una
Shovel.
pala.
Ah,
And then you cortar con
con la pala. Ah,
Oh.
y uso un tenedor grande, pitchfork,
ok.
para pegar. Sí.
Mi hijo quiere
Are you saying that you had one that died, or are you saying you cooked one?
que se...
I said, a morida. I wanted to
Oh,
say.
okay.
Sí,
It
ok.
died.
La planta se murió, ¿sí? Entonces, sí. Sí, tengo un nopal allá, un cacto enfrente de mi casa que está en malas condiciones
Sí.
también. Y mi hijo usa una pala, pero hay otra planta en mi patio de atrás, detrás de mi casa, y mi hijo quiere tomar la cosecha de la fruta en otoño para preparar bebidas y como mermeladas de la fruta del nopal, pero es difícil, hay que quemar, sí, las espinas. Hay muchas espinas, sí. Thorns, hay muchas espinas y sí, para cocinar y hacer mermelada hay que quemar las espinas primero y cocinar todo y hervir la fruta y es mucho trabajo. No quiero hacerlo. Si él quiere cosechar, if he wants to harvest, sí, bueno, que vayas, go right ahead. Ok. Bueno, algo más. Nora, diste una
sábado.
caminata.
El sábado y el domingo Cantó, canté,
Wow.
con
¿Con un grupo?
the choir of Fountain Hills,
El coro.
El Coro de
El
Fountain
coro.
Hills.
Ah,
Cantamos
fue un
show
concierto.
tune.
Oh, no fue concierto de Pascua. It was not an Easter concert.
No. No,
Fue concierto de musicales.
Sí, Barbara
Ah,
Streisand y
wow.
Pocahontas.
Okay.
Fun. Let's see.
Entonces, canciones de películas famosas, de películas populares. Wow. No
So if I want to
sabía.
say it was fun, do I try to use disfrutar or
Fue divertido, fue divertido.
fue divertido?
Fue muy padre. Fue muy
okay, yeah,
padre.
that's
It
slang,
was
right?
cool. Sí, fue muy padre. It was really cool. Fue muy padre.
Sí.
Sí. Ah. Y vino el público, el audience came. Vino
Sí.
el público. Ah, bien. No sabías que tú cantas. I did not know that you sing. No sabías que cantas.
Cuando era adolescente, cantaba, maybe. Mucho?
Cantaba mucho. Cantabas mucho con un coro. ¿Con un coro?
Sí, yeah.
Ah,
sí.
bien. Sí, así se dice coro, C-O-R-O, coro, como choir,
Sí.
como Glee Club es un coro, ¿sí?
Sí, sí.
En el colegio, en la secundaria, es
Sí.
muy popular, una actividad muy popular con los adolescentes es participar en el coro para cantar con el grupo de estudiantes. Muy normal.
Mi
Bien, sí.
primero coro hace 1983.
83. En 83, wow. Ok.
Mucho tiempo, hace mucho tiempo.
Hace mucho tiempo, sí. Pero es divertido. ¿Cuántas personas cantaron contigo en el concierto? ¿Cuántas personas participaron en el coro?
70, let's see.
Wow.
74, maybe?
Wow.
Muchos.
Es mucha gente. Wow, me sorprende. Y había una banda también. Había una banda también.
No.
No tocando. No había banda tocando.
Solo un piano. How do you say
para
piano
acompañar, sí. Había un piano para acompañarnos.
Sí.
Wow.
Let me hear you sing now, Nora.
Estaba esperando esa pregunta. I was waiting for that question. Sí. Oh, tienes que cantar ahorita, ¿no?
Come on, Nora.
No, por favor.
There was a song from the First Wives Club where the three women, I forget who they were, they sang, no, 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 no. There you go.
How about Shakira's song?
Not a movie. It was only
no se toca Hips Don't Lie en las películas, ¿no?
No, the new one. The new
Sí.
one, Marilyn, the new one. The new Shakira that you sent us.
Sí, la nueva canción. Wow, sí. Uy. Ay, me gusta. Ok. Bueno, Juanita, ¿tienes algo que contarnos de la semana pasada? Do you have anything to tell us about last week? ¿Hay
Oh,
algo o no?
nothing special.
No, nada
Nothing
especial.
special. Nothing special.
Ah.
Just hanging out here.
Sí,
Um,
solamente con los hijos, sí. Bueno, Juanita, ¿tus hijos estaban de vacaciones o no? No,
no.
era la
That's-
semana anterior.
What do you say, 2 weeks ago? Somewhere
Hace
around.
2 semanas. Hace 2 semanas.
Hace 2 semanas.
Hace 2 semanas. Ok, bien. Bueno, ok. Pero sí, fuiste de vacaciones durante las vacaciones de tus hijos, ¿verdad?
Mhm.
¿Y fuiste a esquiar?
Sí.
Bien. ¿A dónde fuiste a
Utah.
esquiar?
Utah. Utah.
Wow.
Snow Park City. Se llama Snow Basin.
Ok.
What do you call it? I'm confusing. I'm mixing up with French here. So magnifique. What do you?
Grandissimo?
It's a Hermosa Vista.
Una hermosa vista, sí, me imagino, sí.
Sí.
Había mucha nieve esta temporada, esta estación de invierno. Había mucha nieve en el norte, ¿no?
Sí.
Las condiciones,
Oh, yeah.
fueron muy buenas.
Mucho
Nieve.
Mucha nieve.
Sí,
Y
había
frío,
mucha.
y frío en Utah, frío.
Oh, sí. It was like I forgot, it's in the 20s. Yeah.
Era Fahrenheit,
sol?
¿no?
Hace sol?
Yeah, hace sol.
Sí, hacía sol.
Sí, but se frío.
Okay. So this leads us actually into what I also wanted to do. Lo que quería hacer también es cuando hablamos del tiempo, del clima, when we talk about weather, ¿sí? En el pasado. Depende un poquito. Si es un evento específico como llovió el jueves, it rained on Thursday, por ejemplo, entonces es llovió. Pero,
Okay.
Sí, pretérito, pero depende. Si hablamos de las condiciones en general en el pasado, muchas veces es mejor usar el imperfecto. Por ejemplo, si Juanita quiere hablar del tiempo en Utah hace 2 años, las condiciones de sus vacaciones de esquiar, entonces sería normal decir, hacía mucho frío, hacía frío, ¿ok? Y el contraste es, the contrast would be, por ejemplo, ayer hizo mucho viento. Yesterday, it was super windy. If I want to talk about one day off, and I really want to say, well, that wind, it finished, right? It was just yesterday and then it's done. I might use hizo mucho viento. Wow, it was windy yesterday. Ayer hizo viento. Wow, y fue horrible. It was terrible. Pero si vas a hablar de condiciones en general, sería normal usar el imperfecto. Durante mis vacaciones de esquiar en Utah. Hacía frío, pero hacía sol,
Ah.
¿verdad? And
How
there
do you say it when it was like snowing a lot? What do you say that? How do you say it?
nevaba mucho. It was snowing a lot. Nevaba mucho.
Nevada mucho. Okay.
Nevaba mucho. But if I want to say, ooh, like let's say my intent is I woke up and I looked outside and wow, like last night, a bunch of snow dumped last night.
Mhm.
Then it would just be, wow, nevó mucho anoche. It snowed a lot last night, por ejemplo. Entonces, depende, ¿sí? Depende un poquito con el clima, con el tiempo, depende un poquito en lo que quieres expresar. It really depends a bit on what it is you want to express. Si yo quiero decir como una sorpresa, as a surprise, you wake up and suddenly there's a foot of snow. Entonces, nevó mucho anoche. Wow, it snowed a lot last night. But if you're just talking about the general conditions and you're describing what it was like, see, es la clave. That's really the key. If you're describing what the weather was like during your vacation, it would be more likely to say, wow, nevaba mucho. Durante mis vacaciones
in Utah.
de esquiar en Utah. See, nevaba mucho. It was snowing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
See, depende. See, if somebody uses nevaba, the idea I get is, wow, it snowed a lot during that time. But if somebody uses this, I know they mean, for a one-time event. So it doesn't mean nevó es incorrecto, nevaba is incorrecto. Depende. It conveys a different idea time-wise, ¿sí? Bien. Y cuando hablamos del tiempo, and actually I hope we get to this in that Monday set of classes a bit. Recuerden, por favor, remember please that certain verbs are very, very common to use with weather. And those verbs are hacer o estar o a veces hay, sometimes hay, but in that case, it's usually going to be that imperfecto había, right? Okay, entonces, un ejemplo de hay, because we only use that in the one tense. If you want to say it was sunny, you could say hacía, okay, hacía sol. There are people who will also say había sol. There was sun. So we can use hacía sol or había sol. We can use
But hacía sol is it was sunny, right?
Well, they both would mean it was sunny. Había sol might sound a little strange, but many people say, ooh, hay sol hoy. Wow, there's a lot of sun today. So you might hear either había en el pasado or hacía en el pasado con sol. O por ejemplo, muchas veces, a lot of times había with nouns. So había, por ejemplo, había, because we can use había with one thing or a bunch of things. It doesn't matter, right? Había nubes. Había nubes. There were clouds. Había sol. But we can't really use this había, this I part. But I in the past, it becomes había. We can't really use this with like you don't hear it as much with calor, okay? You don't use it as much with temperature, right?
How do you say foggy?
Neblina. Neblina. Había neblina.
Neblina.
Neblina. Sí.
Mm.
Eso es, sí. But you might hear estar, and of course, if we put estar into imperfecto, it'll be estaba, ¿sí? Por ejemplo, estaba nevando igual que nevaba, estaba nevando. Bien, estaba nevando mucho. It was snowing a lot. También se puede decir. You may hear it expressed that way as well. Those are all permissible, all okay, right? Hacía frío, hacía calor, hacía fresco. Bien, sí. Estaba fría. It was cold. También. You'll hear estaba with temperatures also. Estaba frío. Depende. Pero muy común. So the only ones you might not hear these big three with might be some of the precipitation words. And those are usually nevar for snow, right? Llover for rain. You can get into the hail and the sleet and all that, but those are the two big ones, right? Nevar and llover, right? Llovía, it rained, or estaba lloviendo. So yeah, you might hear nevaba, it was snowing, or estaba nevando. Y son iguales. Those two really carry the same meaning. They're descriptions in the past. We just need to use the imperfecto if that describes the general conditions and if our intent is to describe. Aquí con llover, llovía mucho. Por ejemplo, ay, qué lío, qué problema. Llovía todo el tiempo durante mis vacaciones. Wow, it rained that whole time. It was raining the whole time on my vacation. Llovía todo el tiempo durante mis vacaciones. Pero se puede usar igualmente, estaba lloviendo. Son sinónimos. These are pretty synonymous. Right? The estaba lloviendo just gives it kind of a more rolling kind of feel, but notice both of them really still use that imperfecto. It's just that this one uses estar with the ing, right? And this one just takes the precipitation verb, yeah, for the raining there. ¿Sí? Bien? Okay. Fantástico. Okay. Bueno, ¿qué va a pasar con el tiempo? Sí, la semana que viene, vamos a tener temperaturas más altas en la semana que viene, ¿verdad? Sí, bien. Ok, bien. Okay, entonces, then, think about and email me at some time your thoughts about if you want to keep going with pretérito and imperfecto, which would be perfectly okay to keep practicing, está bien, or if you want to dip your toes a little into subjunctive, just kind of think about that a bit and let me know, or let me know during class. No importa mucho. Okay. I want you, however, to hear some storytelling. And you're going to hear a lot of past. So we'll see how much you recognize of this. This is part of a series, kind of like Frida Kahlo had a series. This is part of a series. Es el primer video de... perdón, un momentito. Tengo que poner el sonido. Ok, sí. Bien. Y vamos a escuchar un poquito aquí.
Imagínate
I'll put on our subtitles too.
visitar un lugar que fue hecho hace 2000 años
Oh, atrás. Atrás means ago, behind. Yeah. Fue hecho is a passive voice, which she's not going to hear. You're not going to hear much of because we use it very infrequently in Spanish, except in formal speech. Fue hecho was made. Fue hecho does take fue from ser, not from ir. Fue hecho means was made, was built, essentially, 2,000 years ago, hace 2,000 años atrás.
atrás.
Atrás tells you backward, whether it's in space or in time.
Hola, soy Michelle y les doy la bienvenida el día de hoy a esta serie llamada Ruinas Mayas que debes visitar.
Ruinas mayas que debes visitar. We have that word ruinas, ¿eh? Con casa grande, ¿no? Ruinas es ruins. Ruinas. Es un cognado. Mayan ruins that you ought to visit. Debes es ought to or should. And debes has kind of a strong connotation. It's kind of a, you really got to do this. Yeah, it's a strong obligation. Debes visitar, that you really ought to visit.
Para empezar a hablar de las ruinas mayas, primero debemos de saber
We ought to know.
quiénes eran los mayas.
¿Quiénes eran los mayas? ¿Quiénes eran?
Were they?
Who were they? And notice we can't use, or we generally won't use pretérito with this because we are going to go off into a description of who they were, and who they were is going to be a description, right? ¿Quiénes eran los mayas, right? They are not an event. Los mayas is not an event. They were a people, and because they existed for a long time as an ethnic group, we're going to use imperfecto there.
Los mayas fueron un grupo de personas que vivieron en México y Centroamérica. Los mayas vivieron en Belice, en El Salvador, en Guatemala y en Honduras, y en México, en el sur. En México vivieron en la península de Yucatán.
Península de Yucatán.
En Quintana Roo, Yucatán y Campeche. Los mayas descubrieron cosas importantes durante 2 milenios, es decir, 2000 años. Los mayas
They discovered things 2,000 years ago in that ancient time period.
aprendieron a escribir,
Aprendieron, they learned. See, aprender is usually in the past used as pretérito. Very, very, very seldom with imperfecto. Because at some point they learned something, boom, the light bulb came on. You know, we may not know the exact point, but they learned to do this skill. Escribir.
Los mayas escribían
Used to write
con dibujos.
with drawings.
Los dibujos se llamaban
The drawings were called
jeroglíficos.
jeroglíficos.
Los mayas aprendieron a contar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Los mayas hicieron una manera de contar con números del 0 al 19.
0 al 19, qué raro. No, 20 no. 19, 0. Y el concepto del 0 no se usa todo el tiempo en Europa o a través del océano, pero con los mayas sí.
Ellos contaban números del 0 al 19
They counted
con
with 0 to
rayas
19.
y puntos.
Con rayas y puntos. Entonces, en vez de números, como tenemos un sistema árabe de números, we have an Arabic system of numbers that we use. ¿Sí? Rayas, little lines, ¿sí? Rayas, little lines, y puntos and dots. Lines and dots.
Ellos contaban números 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 y 19. 19 números que hoy conocemos y mostraron el 0.
Yeah, they introduced the
La
0.
lengua, la forma de...
Para mí no me importa, pero para personas como mi esposo, el concepto de, el concepto de 0, the concept of 0 for mathematicians, sí, como mi esposo, es importante. It is a big deal for mathematicians. In the mathematical world, that concept of 0 did not exist in all countries at all times in history. So this is a big deal for them.
En maya, hoy aún es muy importante para el mundo. Hoy la lengua maya, la forma de hablar en maya es patrimonio de la humanidad. Quiere decir
is the heritage of humanity. So this is one of those languages that could die out, possibly, but they're trying to preserve. There are very select groups of people that still speak some form of Mayan language, is what she's talking about
que
here.
la lengua maya es muy importante para el mundo y hay que cuidarla.
We have to preserve it,
Hoy
cuidarla, take care of
aún
it.
seguimos hablando en maya. Algunas de las palabras que usamos en maya en español es cenote.
Oh, cenote viene del maya y no, yo no lo sabía. This word cenote, which is very unceremoniously in English expressed as kind of like a sinkhole, or, it's kind of it's like a well that's deep underground. And a lot of people like to go snorkeling in these types of areas in Yucatan that are cenotes. There's not a really good English word for cenote. But that word cenote, to talk about a pool, a well of water that really goes under, like through cave areas. Cenote came from Mayan. Okay, wow, qué interesante.
¿Qué quiere decir pozo
A well.
o cueva con agua?
Cave with
dulce.
water.
Otra.
Agua dulce. Agua dulce. Dulce es sweet, pero agua dulce no es sweet water. Agua dulce es fresh water. Se dice en inglés fresh water, pero en español se dice agua dulce. ¿Ok? Es el término. Fresh water es agua dulce.
Palabra que usamos del maya es patatús, que en español quiere decir desmayo
Fainting.
o fingir desmayo.
Faking.
Aunque la
Pretending
lengua
to faint.
maya ya no se habla tanto,
It's not spoken very
Hoy,
much.
todavía hay grupos, comunidades
There's
mayas
still
que
groups,
hablan la lengua maya
there's still Mayan
en
communities that speak it.
Centroamérica y en México. Los mayas tenían muchas tradiciones, como por ejemplo las fiestas o las ceremonias, donde en una hablaban o festejaban al dios de la lluvia.
They would
Y en la
talk to
ceremonia,
or
en la
celebrate
fiesta,
the god of rain. And you can imagine, of course, even in our climate, that yeah, celebrating petitioning the god of rain it could be a big deal.
rompían platos
They broke
porque
plates.
cuando rompen los platos sonaba como los truenos. Y
Truenos is thunder. So the breaking of plates would be like the sound of thunder. This would be a very loud, sharp sound. So in that ancient culture, that's how that was done.
fiesta,
In
esta
this
ceremonia
ceremony,
ayudaba a que lloviera.
it would.
Aunque ha pasado
So these ceremonies were done to try to make it rain, to ask the gods to make it rain. Ayudaba a lloviera. It would help it to the rains to come. And that lloviera looks like llover. That's a past subjunctive. It would help it to rain.
mucho tiempo, hoy todavía se siguen haciendo estas ceremonias.
They still continue to
Los
do these
mayas
ceremonies for the rain.
También descubrieron
They also
la
discovered
astronomía.
astronomy.
Los mayas observaban
They used to observe
el cielo,
the sky, the heavens.
observaban la luna,
They observed the moon,
sol,
the sun,
Venus y
Venus,
las estrellas.
and the stars.
Los mayas también hicieron un calendario
They created a calendar.
y con esto contaban los días,
They counted the days,
las horas
the hours,
y los meses.
and months.
Con los calendarios, los mayas sabían el ciclo de la luna.
The Mayans understood the phases of the moon, okay, cycles, but the phases of the moon.
También del sol y también de los eclipses,
Eclipses, sí.
así como el movimiento de los planetas. El calendario maya es muy parecido al de
Parecido is very much like, it's similar to
hoy,
al
que
today's calendar.
usamos hoy, porque el calendario maya también tiene 365 días
Okay, has the same number of
Del-
days
año.
for the year.
Los mayas construyeron
They built
grandes ciudades que
big
hoy
cities.
se llaman ruinas.
Well, today they're called ruins,
Porque
but they were
a
cities.
pesar del paso del tiempo,
Despite the
Las
passage of
ruinas.
time,
lo que construyeron se ve bien.
But the Bruins actually look good. Se ve bien. It looks pretty good. It's still still standing.
Se conserva y podemos
It's
ver
been
que
preserved.
es hoy.
And we can
Así
see
que
what it's like today.
la palabra ruina, ruina, quiere decir construcción que con el paso del tiempo hoy se puede ver y entender las personas que vivieron aquí. Así que si tú quieres conocer las ruinas mayas que debes visitar, sigue viendo esta serie.
Okay, and that's just her intro for the series. Yeah, I'm going to try to find her next batch for, I think it's published, but I will have to go see if I can grab it. See, for the listening for this week. ¿Está bien?
Sí, sí,
¿Está bien? Okay. La semana que viene, our coming up week, we'll continue to talk a little bit about the past. We'll continue with a little bit of that more to keep our feet wet and to keep practicing. I'm going to try to work both some regular and irregular verbs. And bien. Okay. ¿Todo bien? All good?
sí, sí, sí.
Okay.
Excelente.
Gracias.
¿Quieren algo de leer? Do you want a reading type assignment for this week as well, or no?
Yeah.
¿Sí?
Sí.
¿Bien? Ok. Vale, fantástico. Muy bien. Tengo algo. I have something. I hope it's not. I have to see if it's still the correct level. Ok, pero todo bien. Y nos vemos la semana que viene. ¿Está bien? ¿Bien? Fantástico. Ok, entonces nos vemos
vemos.
el miércoles.
Sí.